The UPC is intended as a resource to make our jobs easier out in the field. For the 2021 edition, the UPC has introduced a new appendix. Appendix N is titled Impact of Water Temperature on the Potential for Scalding and Legionella Growth. The two biggest concerns when designing a hot water delivery system are eliminating the risk of scalding and preventing the growth of Legionella bacteria. The problem has always been that keeping temperatures high enough to control Legionella inevitably increases scalding risk. At the same time, lowering temperatures with the goal of avoiding scalding may allow the growth of harmful bacteria. Prior to the 1970s, awareness of the dangers of bacterial growth in plumbing systems has been steadily growing in our industry for decades. But in 1976, an event occurred that would increase the move towards safer plumbing systems drastically. In that year, an outbreak of a serious respiratory illness among attendees at an American Legion convention was traced to the plumbing system. Legionnaires Disease is a life-threatening form of pneumonia caused by the bacteria Legionella pneumophila. In order to understand the 1976 outbreak, why it's still an issue, and why it's so directly related to scalding, let's take a look at a bit of history. Although current plumbing codes might define the term of hot water as either 110 degrees or 120 degrees Fahrenheit, it wasn't always so. Prior to the 1973 oil embargo, domestic water heaters were routinely set at 160 degrees. 160 degrees continues to be their design temperature. At the time, the American Society of Plumbing Engineers, the ASPE, defined the term hot water as 140 degrees Fahrenheit or above, so that was what most codes required. With the 1973 embargo, numerous building codes were re-examined for ways to save energy. By 1978, the ASPE lowered their definition of hot water to 120 degrees Fahrenheit or above, and codes were adjusted to require no more than 120 degrees at the point of delivery for most domestic uses. This effort to save energy by defining hot water at a lower temperature was matched in the 1980s by water conservation efforts. For example, maximum flow rate through a showerhead was lowered to 3 gallons per minute at 80 psi, a significant decrease from the flow rate before limitations were initiated of 5 to 10 gallons a minute. This had an unintended impact on water temperature. In response to an inexplicable increase in scalding incidents in showers, which prompted lawsuits against manufacturers, numerous studies found that lower flows from showerheads were far more reactive to temperature changes. For example, one study showed that a full-flowing showerhead only rose a few degrees, maybe 5 to 7, when there was a change in water pressure. Meanwhile, a showerhead restricted to 3 GPM could spike 35 to 45 degrees when pressure changed, which could result in a scalding injury within a few seconds. As a result of the numerous lawsuits, new warnings were added to the labeling and manuals for water heaters, along with the manufacturer's recommended maximum setting of 125 degrees or 120 degrees. Most warnings declared that any temperature above 125 degrees could result in severe scalding or even death. The problem is that it takes temperatures above 130 degrees Fahrenheit to reliably kill Legionella bacteria, and at temperatures below 120 degrees Fahrenheit, growth of Legionella is fostered. Before we go any further, I want to emphasize that Legionnaires disease is an airborne illness. Transmission only occurs when water containing the organism is aerosolized in breathable droplets, usually from 1 to 5 micrometers in size. Then it must be inhaled by a susceptible host. I know that sounds like how COVID-19 is transmitted, and that's because it is. While that may sound like the method of transmission for COVID, the difference is that COVID isn't waterborne. Instead, COVID is aerosolized in coughs or sneezes or through some types of contact. Legionella is very capably aerosolized by a shower. The bacteria can also be spread through spas, whirlpools, and most notably in water features, and can propagate rapidly wherever low flows or dead legs allow biofilm, scale, slime, and sediment to accumulate for bacterial growth. Appendix N doesn't address every way to prevent danger from Legionella, but focuses on ways that water temperature can limit growth or kill it. Because it's been found that higher temperatures are the surest way to kill these bacteria. So the question becomes, how to maintain temperatures high enough to kill the Legionella but not make scalding more likely? The new appendix seeks to find the sweet spot. Not all the answers can be found in Appendix N, but it's a good start.